Imagine for a moment that time is not your enemy, that the hours of the day are not barriers but open doors. You may believe that change requires months, perhaps years, but I tell you, it can happen within the space of a single day. For the moment you assume the feeling of your wish fulfilled, the universe bends itself to the pattern of that assumption. It is not tomorrow that creates results, it is not the waiting that brings change, it is the now, the instant in which you dare to live in the end. When you desire something, do not look to the outer world for confirmation. The outer world is but a shadow, a reflection of your inner state. If you seek a sign first, you remain a servant to appearances. But if you close your eyes, quiet your mind, and enter into the state where the thing is already yours, you master the very law that governs creation. What you accept as true within yourself, even for a moment, if it is felt with intensity and persistence, will clothe itself in facts. I say to you, test it. Tonight, before you drift into sleep, choose the scene that implies your desire has already come to pass. Not a scene of longing, but a scene of fulfillment. If you seek reconciliation, feel the warmth of the embrace. If you desire wealth, touch the substance of it with your inner senses. If you long for health, walk in the body of one who is whole and free. Do not wait for the evidence to come. Live it now within the secret chamber of imagination and let that feeling carry you into slumber. Why 24 hours? Because life is not delayed by outer processes, but only by inner doubt. If you can hold the state with conviction, if you refuse to return to the old man, the old story, then the world must conform. It is law. Just as a seed, when planted in fertile soil, begins its work unseen, so too will your assumption begin to push its way into form, and often as you truly let go and rested, in the end, the evidence appears with astonishing speed, sometimes within the very next day. The secret is not effort but acceptance, not struggle but surrender to the feeling that it is done. When you awaken tomorrow, do not search anxiously for the result. Walk as though it is already here. Think as though it is already yours. And the world, in ways you could never predict, will echo back to you the very state you have dared to occupy. So I invite you, this night, not tomorrow, not in some distant future, assume the end. Feel it real. Enter the joy of its completion. For imagination, when believed, is the one true reality. Hold fast and watch how swiftly the shadow world rearranges itself to mirror the conviction of your heart. When I tell you that imagination creates reality instantly, I do not speak in metaphor or poetry, but in truth. For creation is finished and every possible state already exists. The only question is which state you dare to occupy, which garment of reality you choose to clothe yourself in. You think that your desire lies in the future, that time must pass, that outer conditions must align before it can be so. But I say to you, it is not the movement of days and hours that brings it forth. It is the movement of your inner acceptance, your willingness to believe that what you desire is already yours. The very moment you assume it and feel it as though it were so, reality bends to your assumption. And though the shadow world may take a moment to reveal it, the seed has already borne its fruit. Do not be deceived by appearances. If tonight you were to plant a seed in the soil, would you dig it up tomorrow to check whether it has begun to sprout? No, you would trust that unseen forces are already at work, and you would rest in confidence. So it is with imagination. The instant you plant the seed of assumption, it begins to move, to unfold, to press itself into form. You may not see the first signs with your natural eye, but in truth, the change has already happened. The outer must eventually give way to the inner, for the outer is but a reflection. It is not the effort of many days that produces results, but the intensity of one moment of true belief. There are those who imagine and then undo their work with doubt, who look outside and say, "It has not yet come, therefore it is not real." But the one who knows this law understands that to question the unseen is to uproot the seed. Instead, he rests in the knowledge that what he has assumed exists now, though the evidence lies beyond the veil of the senses. Think not of imagination as a passing fancy or daydream. Think of it as the very act of creation, the molding of substance into form. What you dare to feel real becomes the reality you live. So if you can imagine with such conviction that the senses yield to your inner vision, then you will see your desire clothed in facts, often with a suddenness that astonishes. For the world does not resist imagination. It obeys it. It must. Many ask, how long must I imagine before I see results? And I answer, how long must a seed lie in the ground before it bears fruit? The answer depends not on the soil of the earth, but on the soil of your heart. If you believe it is already done, then it is. The harvest is not measured in days, but in faith. And because the act of assumption is the act of creation itself, the result already exists. You may find it tomorrow, you may find it next week, but in truth, the very moment you assumed, it was done. So do not think of imagination as play, think of it as power. The instant you clothe yourself in the state of your desire, the instant you feel its reality with the full conviction of faith, creation is complete. And when creation is complete, it must be seen in this world of shadows. For shadows cannot help but follow the substance that casts them. When you look at the world around you, you believe you are seeing reality. You believe that these outer facts, these visible conditions, are the truth, unshakable and final. But I tell you, they are not truth, but shadow. They are reflections cast by the invisible states of consciousness that you carry within yourself. Just as a mirror does not generate the face it reflects, so the outer world does not create your life. It only reveals the inner man you have chosen to be. If you would change the shadow, you must not strike the mirror. You must change the face you show to it. This is why I say to you, ignore the outer world when it contradicts your desire. Do not be deceived by appearances, for they are only the remnants of old states, the withering branches of yesterday's beliefs. The world you see today is simply the harvest of seeds you planted in imagination long ago. If you despise the harvest, do not curse the field. Plant a new seed. If you wish for a new tomorrow, assume a new state today, and let the world catch up to your inner change. The mistake most men make is to seek evidence before they believe. They say, show me the proof and then I will assume. But that is to live backward, to remain enslaved to appearances. Faith, true faith, is the reversal of this order. You must assume the unseen as real, and then the seen will conform. If you demand signs first, you remain bound to the shadow world, and the law cannot work for you. For imagination is the cause, and the outer is only the effect. To chase the effect is to forever miss the cause. Do not wait for conditions to reassure you. When you walk by faith and not by sight, you dare to claim within that which is not yet visible without. And in so doing, you change the unseen root from which all visible things grow. When the inner state shifts, the outer must reflect it, for it has no power of its own. Consider this: if a man is poor and imagines wealth, the world will still show him poverty for a time. But if he refuses to be swayed, if he continues to walk inwardly in the state of wealth, the world will bend. Opportunities will come, doors will open, men will appear as instruments to bring him into alignment with the state he inwardly accepted. He may call it chance, but it is law. It could not have been otherwise, for the outer world is compelled to echo the song sung within. When you understand this, you stop wrestling with appearances. You cease to argue with circumstances. You know that to quarrel with the shadow is to waste your strength. Instead, you return to imagination, to the secret place where all change begins. There you assume the end, you feel it real, and you let the shadow rearrange itself accordingly. So I tell you, do not let your senses enslave you. What you see, what you hear, what you touch is not the master, but the servant. It serves your inner conviction. If your conviction changes, so too must the shadow. To ignore appearances is not to deny reality. It is to deny the tyranny of effects, to stand in the knowledge that the cause is within you. Therefore, fix your gaze inward. Clothe yourself in the state you wish to see expressed, and rest in the knowing that the outer will follow. It must, for it has no life of its own. You are the life, you are the power, you are the cause. The world only reflects what you dare to assume. To live in the end is to occupy here and now the state of your fulfilled desire. It is to refuse to wait for proof, to refuse to linger in longing, and instead to step boldly into the feeling that what you seek is already yours. Many pray for what they want, begging as though their desires lie in the hands of another. Yet I tell you, prayer is not pleading, it is assuming. It is the art of accepting within yourself the reality of that which you wish to manifest. To pray successfully is to give thanks, not for what may come tomorrow, but for what you claim as already here today. When you live in the end, you no longer think of the desire, you think from it. You cease to see yourself as one reaching toward a goal, and instead you see yourself as one who already stands within the completed vision. If you seek love, do not imagine yourself yearning for a partner. Imagine yourself embraced, cherished, already dwelling in the sweetness of union. If you seek abundance, do not picture yourself as one striving for wealth. See yourself as already living with ease, your needs abundantly supplied. The shift is subtle but profound. You move from desire into fulfillment, from waiting into possession, from hope into certainty. Living in the end does not mean ignoring the present circumstances. It means recognizing them for what they are, echoes of past assumptions, shadows of old beliefs. You no longer bow to them, nor do you let them dictate your faith. You walk inwardly in the new reality, knowing that the outer must bend to reflect the inner. And because you have dared to persist in this new state, life itself rearranges to meet you at the level of your conviction. Imagine the actor upon a stage. He does not wait for the play to end before assuming his role. He enters the stage clothed in the part, embodying the character from the beginning. So too must you play your role in imagination. You must step into the state of the fulfilled desire as though it were your true identity. And the world, like an audience, cannot help but respond to the performance you give within the theater of your mind. Do not ask, how will it come to pass? That is not your concern. The bridge of incidents will unfold on its own. Doors will open, opportunities will arise, people will appear at the appointed time. The law is not your servant in detail, it is your servant in principle. Your task is to live in the end. Its task is to weave the path that brings your assumption into visibility. When you live in the end, you taste the joy of fulfillment now. You feel the relief of answered prayer now. You walk with the confidence of one who already possesses the treasure, and that confidence itself is the magnet that draws the shadow world into alignment. For the world cannot resist the man who knows he already is what he wishes to be. So I tell you, dare to live in the end. Refuse the posture of waiting. Refuse the posture of hoping. Step into the feeling of completion, and let that feeling saturate your mind and body. Sleep in it, wake in it, walk in it. And in time, and often in a time far shorter than you imagine, the outer will bear witness to the inner. The world is but a mirror, and it must reflect the image you hold of yourself. Live in the end, and the end will live in you. There is a sacred doorway that every man and woman passes through each night, a passage into the depths of the subconscious, and that doorway is sleep. When you close your eyes and drift into slumber, you leave behind the conscious guard of reason and slip into the fertile soil of imagination, where all things are planted and take root. What you impress upon the mind in that holy hour before sleep is what the subconscious accepts as real, and what the subconscious accepts must eventually manifest in the world of form. This is why I tell you, do not take your worries into the night. Do not let the last vision of your day be lack, fear, or regret. For as you carry those feelings into slumber, they are magnified and brought forth as tomorrow's reality. Instead, choose deliberately the scene you will rest upon. Choose a vision that implies your wish is already fulfilled, and let that be the pillow upon which your mind rests. If you desire reconciliation, do not fall asleep rehearsing the quarrel. Fall asleep in the warmth of an embrace, in the peace of forgiveness already given and received. If you desire success, do not replay the failures of the day. Fall asleep hearing congratulations, feeling the joy of achievement already secured. The state you enter at sleep is the state you carry into the depths of your being, where imagination and faith unite. The subconscious is not moved by words alone, but by feeling. You must not only picture the scene, but feel it, surrendering to it as though it were the truest thing in your life. Let the sensation of fulfillment carry you into unconsciousness. And when you awaken, the world will have already begun its work of rearrangement to reflect the seed you planted. Think of the farmer. He does not scatter his seed carelessly at any hour, but chooses the right moment, the quiet soil, and the stillness of night. So too must you choose thee. A moment before sleep, when the senses grow dim and the conscious mind weakens, in that twilight between waking and dreaming, you hold in your hand the key to creation. Use it carelessly, and you will sow weeds. Use it with purpose, and you will reap abundance. Perhaps you say, I have imagined during the day, but nothing has changed. I tell you, the day is filled with distractions, the mind restless, the senses loud. But in the stillness of night, when you sink into silence, imagination flows unresisted. There the seed drops deeply into the soil, beyond the reach of doubt. If you would test this law, test it at night. Make your last act before sleep a deliberate assumption of the wish fulfilled, and watch how swiftly life reshapes itself around you. Do not underestimate this simple act. Great fortunes, reconciled loves, healed bodies, restored hopes, all have been born from a single vision carried faithfully into slumber. You need not struggle, you need not scheme, for sleep itself is the great bridge. Cross it clothed in your desire fulfilled, and you will awaken to a world already bending toward your assumption. So tonight, when you lie down, let the day fall away, and in its place take up the garment of your completed desire. Feel it real. Rest in it as though it were already fact. And as you drift beyond the threshold of thought into the silence of sleep, know that you have planted the seed of tomorrow, and that seed once sown cannot fail to bear fruit. The world has taught you to strive, to labor, to push with all your might in order to make something happen. You are told that without effort there is no reward, and so you struggle, you sweat, you chase after results as though they are running away from you. Yet I tell you, all this striving is but vanity, for the true work is not in the outer world, but within. It is not effort that brings the promise to fulfillment, but faith. It is not the restless hand, but the surrendered heart. When you truly understand this law, you see that creation is not a matter of force. You cannot will the seed to grow by pulling at the sprout. You can only place it in the ground and trust the process of life itself. So too is it with your desire. Once you have assumed the feeling of the wish fulfilled, once you have entered into that state as though it were already real, your task is complete. From that point, it is not effort that brings it to pass, but the natural working of the law. You surrender to the truth that what you have assumed already exists in the unseen, and therefore you rest in calm assurance. To surrender is not to give up, it is to give over. You give over the burden of how to the wisdom of the law. You no longer demand to know the steps or the path. You no longer attempt to scheme or manipulate circumstances. Instead, you stand in the conviction that the end is already yours, and you walk with the peace of that knowing. This is the true meaning of rest, the rest of faith, the rest of surrender. Think of the mother carrying a child. She does not labor day after day to form the bones, to shape the limbs, to cause the heart to beat. No, she rests, she trusts, she surrenders to the life already conceived within her. In the same way, once you conceive your desire in imagination, you do not labor endlessly to bring it forth. You rest in the certainty that the law is already at work, shaping, arranging, preparing. The child of your assumption will be born not by your effort, but by your faith. The world tells you that to do nothing is weakness, but I tell you to surrender in faith is the greatest strength. For it is easy to strive, to struggle, to be restless. It takes courage to rest in silence, to believe when there is no evidence, to stand firm when appearances contradict you. Yet this is the path of the one who knows the law. He walks in quiet confidence, knowing that unseen forces are moving, that life itself is bending to his inner state. Do not mistake surrender for passivity. It is not the apathy of one who does not care. It is the power of one who knows. It is the deep assurance that because the end is already secured within, the outer must align without. And so he walks as though it is done, speaks as though it is done, feels as though it is done, without strain, without fear, without doubt. Therefore stop striving. Stop wearing yourself thin in the pursuit of shadows. Enter instead into the joy of surrender. Assume the state of your fulfilled desire and rest in it, knowing that the law is perfect and unfailing. What you have accepted within will clothe itself in facts without, not by effort, not by toil, but by faith alone. Surrender, and let the unseen hand of imagination bring forth the harvest. To walk in conviction is to move through life as though your desire is already fulfilled, as though the world itself cannot deny the state you have assumed. Most men live in contradiction. They imagine one thing inwardly and outwardly act in doubt, fear, or hesitation. They pray for abundance, but speak of lack. They long for love, but carry resentment in their steps. How can the world obey them when they themselves do not obey their own inner assumption? The one who walks in conviction knows that his inner state governs all outer appearances. He no longer waits for proof. He no longer asks for signs. He acts and feels as though the end is already achieved, and in so doing he commands reality itself to respond. Conviction is not mere wishful thinking. It is the deep, unwavering belief that your imagination has already brought forth reality. It is the understanding that time is not a factor, that appearances are not masters, and that the inner world determines the outer. When you adopt this state fully, you cease to flinch at contradiction. 1,000 obstacles may rise before you, yet none can alter the course of what has already been assumed. For the law is not swayed by circumstance, it is compelled by feeling. Consider the magnet. It does not ask for effort to draw the iron. It simply exerts its inherent power, and the iron moves. So too with the man of conviction. He does not beg, struggle, or strive. He exists in the power of his inner state, and the world aligns itself accordingly. To walk in conviction is to radiate certainty, to inhabit the end as if it were already manifest. And the world, though seemingly resistant, cannot resist such a one, for the unseen law moves to express the state he has dared to occupy. Conviction carries with it calmness. There is no need for anxiety or impatience. The one who knows his desire is fulfilled does not hurry, does not fret, does not attempt to push reality by force. He rests in the assurance that the unseen forces are in motion, that life itself is organizing circumstances to correspond with his assumption. This calm confidence is not weakness, it is power perfected. It is the art of knowing that all things are accomplished in the hidden realm before they appear in the outer. To walk in conviction requires persistence. Many begin to assume, but at the first sight of opposition, they falter. They glance at the world and see contradiction, and immediately they return to doubt. But the man who truly walks in conviction refuses to be shaken by appearances. He keeps the feeling alive in his heart. He rehearses the scene of fulfillment in imagination. He sleeps in it, wakes in it, and moves throughout the day as though nothing could alter the reality he has assumed. And because he holds fast, the outer world is forced to conform. Conviction is strengthened by imagination, by persistence, and by the refusal to be moved by external events. It is the steady drumbeat of faith within the heart, the unwavering certainty that the end is already achieved. When you walk in this state, doors open that you never anticipated. Opportunities arise that seem miraculous, and men and circumstances become instruments to bring forth the desire you have embraced. The world becomes obedient to the inner reality, for it cannot resist that which has already been realized in the mind and heart. So I tell you, do not waver. Step boldly into the life you have imagined, assume it fully, feel it as real, and walk in its truth with unwavering conviction. Let your life be a mirror to the state you have dared to occupy. Persist, rejoice, and move confidently, for the unseen is working, and the outer must follow the inner. When you walk in conviction, the law obeys, and reality itself bends to reflect the truth of you, or assumption. And now, having walked together through the principles of imagination, assumption, and faith, understand this: all that I have spoken is not theory, nor is it a distant promise. It is a law as certain as the rising sun, as unyielding as the unseen hand that moves the world according to your inner state. You have been given the keys, the power to assume the end, to dwell in the feeling of fulfillment, to rest in faith, and to walk in unwavering conviction. The outer world will follow, for it cannot resist what has already been made real within you. Remember, the secret lies not in striving, not in pleading, not in endless effort, but in living fully in the end. Imagine with feeling, surrender with trust, and persist with joy. Let sleep carry your assumptions deep into the fertile soil of your being. Let conviction guide your steps each day, and watch with the quiet confidence of one who knows the law as life rearranges itself to reflect the state you have chosen to inhabit. Go forth now, not as one waiting for life to happen, but as the conscious creator of your own reality. Assume, feel, and persist, and you will see the miraculous unfold in ways beyond imagination. For the power to change your world has always been and will always be within you. Your life is the mirror, your imagination is the mold. Shape it wisely, live it boldly, and let the world bear witness to the truth you have dared to hold in your heart.